Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we will be talking about the managers in world football who are under the biggest pressure. Those who look like they could be on the precipice of losing their jobs, and two who are going into new jobs with a whole lot of expectations surrounding it. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. If you're a returning member, welcome back. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I can't do it without your help. World Cup content's coming out this summer. Make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed the videos. It's free. The first place I want to kick off with is Arne Slot at Liverpool. And I have not spoken about Liverpool on this channel for a very, very long time. Now that I think about it, I didn't speak about them around their Champions League exit. I didn't really speak about them with their exit from the FA Cup. And I haven't spoken about them in the Premier League for a long while now. And I feel as though the reason I haven't really spoken about them is there's not really much to talk about. I think the team really lacks a lot of energy. I don't really enjoy watching Liverpool. They've struggled a lot with injuries, and it feels like one of those seasons where you kind of just throw things away, even though that probably shouldn't be the case considering they spent over $500 million in the summer. But the situation now with Arne Slot at Liverpool is genuinely becoming untenable. And I say that for a whole plethora of reasons. The first thing I wanted to say is the fans don't feel like they're supporting this guy anymore. As I said it just now, I don't enjoy watching Liverpool. I don't get up to watch Liverpool. Those days of Jurgen Klopp's heavy metal, exciting football, they're gone. They don't play that style of football anymore. So it's not something that you can sit there and say, oh, well, Liverpool are an exciting team and I'm going to get up to watch Liverpool every single game, even though I'm not a Liverpool fan myself. And I think you can see that feeling and you can hear it in the stadium. You look at the game a few games ago where Rio and Gamoa get subbed off and the entire stadium is booing the substitution. They're not booing Florian Wirtz, who came on for him. They're booing the substitution. And that means they're booing Arne Slot's decision to take off Gamoa. Ultimately, at the end of the game, it was told that Gamoa was feeling a bit tired. He was feeling a bit of cramp coming out. And that's why he got taken off. But in that moment, the fans don't know that. It just feels like another situation where Arne Slot is taking off one of Liverpool's brighter players in the game, a player who has not been given enough opportunities this season, in spite of players like Gakpo and Salah really failing to perform this year. So I think now you're starting to get that feeling from Liverpool fans who are normally very loyal to their managers, even throughout the Brendan Rodgers days, the Rafa Benitez's, of course, Jurgen Klopp, who was as successful as he was. Liverpool have not been the best team prior to Jurgen Klopp, but there was always that feeling that the manager was the figurehead of the football club and the person you needed to respect. But I don't think that's the case with Arne Slot anymore. I mean, you look at some of the quotes that are coming out now. You look at this bombshell that Mohamed Salah drops. Now, I'm sure most of you watching this video have seen this. But long story short, he comes out basically talking about how the standards of the football club have fallen away. And he feels as though that attacking beautiful football, that, here it is, the heavy metal attacking team that opponents fear. I mean, teams used to fear going to Liverpool. They really used to fear going to Liverpool. And Liverpool are barely surviving in a Champions League race. They're barely surviving. And this is a Champions League race that consists of pretty average teams, if we're being very honest. I mean, Manchester United finished 15th last season and have comfortably finished above Liverpool this year. The Premier League champions who went on to win, who went on to spend $500 million in the summer. That cannot be the case. That cannot be the case. And that Champions League qualification is the bare minimum. As Mohamed Salah says here, as I've always said, qualifying to next season Champions League is the bare minimum, and I'll do everything I can to make that happen. But long story short, this entire statement is literally just Mohamed Salah jabbing away at Arne Slot. It really just sounds like Mohamed Salah jabbing away at Arne Slot. It sounds like a man who, we know that Mohamed Salah is leaving at the end of the season. But I think a manager who still has the trust of the players doesn't have his biggest player in the team talking like this, irrespective of whether that player is leaving at the end of the season or not. And then you then have the other Salah post where he's posting on Instagram, posting the gym pictures. Bear in mind that Salah tweet where he posted talking about the standards of the club and talking about how he hopes that Liverpool can get back to that level. Pretty much half of the Liverpool squad liked that post. Whether it was on Instagram, whether it was on Twitter, literally the entire Liverpool squad likes that post. You even hear the words from Virgil van Dijk talking about kind of giving, slight jabs under the table to Arne Slot. And you sit there and you think, these guys don't respect this guy anymore. They don't respect this guy anymore. They don't. And you can see here the gym post where Mohamed Salah is posting in the gym. I think at this time he was injured. The team was away. And I think he was talking about, once again, Mohamed Salah talking about the standards. And to be very honest, Mohamed Salah is a very funny player because Jamie Carragher said it perfectly. This guy only comes out to talk in the media when he has something controversial to say, which I find very funny. But nevertheless, comes out, talks about the gym, talks about, the standards being high level. And Arne Slot basically just told the reporters, standards are not only in the gym. You need to perform on the pitch. And again, those silent jabs in the media. I completely agree with Salah, as he said, how important these standards are. I think they're in a good place at the moment. They're not, because you're barely qualifying for the Champions League when Liverpool were probably the favorites to win the Premier League this season. They were probably the sure-gone favorites to win the league. But then he also says, I think it also makes sense the younger players. It doesn't have to be the new players. It can be the 7-year-old that comes from the academy. They get the example of players like Mo and others for them to understand and know what it takes to play every 3 days at this level. It's a circus. Honestly, it's a circus at Liverpool. And I want to give Arne Slot a little bit of benefit of the doubt. And I've been talking about this guy for way too long, so I'll quicken it up. I think he's had a lot of injuries. The injuries to Isak, the injuries to Ekitike. I think the new signings that have come in have really, really failed to deliver. For me, for Jeremy Frimpong was a terrible signing from day one. I mean, you're replacing a brilliant creator, a brilliant passer of the ball with a one-dimensional player who is not a right winger, he's not a right midfielder, and he's not a right back. He's a right wing back. That is literally all he can play. If he's not playing that specific position in the back five, he cannot play football. And then you had Kirkes, who started the season pretty poorly, but I think has improved as the season has gone on. Florian Wirtz has been hugely underwhelming, in my opinion, a player who I've had really, really big stocks in coming into Liverpool. And those two big guys have been struggling for fitness, as well as Frimpong and Konate. So it's not been easy for Arne Slot. I'm not going to say that it has been. He's had to depend on a 17-year-old in the attack at points in this season. Mohamed Salah, all the talking he wants to talk, all the yabbing he wants to yab, even he hasn't been at the level this season. So, of course, you can give Salah the benefit of the doubt because he's won Premier Leagues, he's won Champions Leagues, he's done all of this for Liverpool. But at the same time, he's not performing. And there's a reason why Liverpool are letting him go, or both of them are going their separate ways, because Salah is not at the level anymore. He just isn't. So I think all of that, if you wanted to look at the other side of things, it doesn't help Slot. It doesn't help Slot at all. But I feel as though this situation is completely untenable. This situation is completely untenable. For a long time, it seemed as though Liverpool were going to keep Arne Slot, to the point that the man we're going to talk about next slipped through their fingers and went to one of their Premier League rivals. But now you're seeing talks and you're seeing murmurs about a possible U-turn on that decision, and he might actually be sacked. And if he gets sacked, I wouldn't be surprised, because as I said it earlier in the season, when I made that video on Hugo Ekitike, I think you need to give him a little bit of credit in the bank because he won the Premier League. I know Mohamed Salah did so much for this team. Mohamed Salah pretty much carried them to that league, but you still need to oversee that. And right now, Liverpool are in a dark position, man, because if you keep Arne Slot, and for me, I'm not even questioning the man's tactical ability. I'm more questioning, do this team, do these fans still believe in this manager? Because you can talk about, oh, maybe he can change it on the football field. If those players do not believe in him anymore, there is no point going into the new season with him. There is no point. And I think the biggest mistake that Liverpool have made is that they've allowed this decision to come as late in the season as it has. Because now you look at the man we're about to come and talk about, Xabi Alonso, who's, in my opinion, should have been their number one target. He's gone to Chelsea. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Arne Slot at Liverpool. Whether he stays or he goes, Liverpool have a really, really, really tough moment coming up. With all those big players, Van Dijk coming to the end of his career, Alisson looking like he might leave, Mohamed Salah, Andy Robertson. It's a new era at Liverpool. As we mentioned, the front runner for that Liverpool position was the man Xabi Alonso, who actually has ties to both teams of the managers before and after him that we're going to talk about. But we'll talk about Xabi Alonso for now, who has secured his move to Chelsea. A role, a position, an appointment that I never saw coming. I will start off by saying, I find these words very, very interesting. Delighted to announce the appointment of Xabi Alonso as manager. Manager, not head coach, manager. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. When they announced Maresca, it was head coach. When they announced Liam Senior, it was head coach. Perhaps I'm reading way too much into it. Perhaps I'm making a mountain out of an anthill. I don't know if that's the saying. Could be completely butchering that. But it feels different, or it sounds different, should we say. Of course, we know Xabi Alonso coming into this job, what his track record is. This guy won almost a treble at Leverkusen, losing in the final, going unbeaten in the entire domestic season, winning a league double over Bayern Munich with Bayer Leverkusen, with a lot of the players that we see at Liverpool now in Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong. And we know the time that he had at Real Madrid did not end as well as he probably would have wanted. I mean, it definitely didn't end as well as he would have wanted it to. Real Madrid were starting to find their feet. Real Madrid were starting to get into a rhythm. Kylian Mbappe was looking like the player that we expect him to be. Of course, Vinicius was still here and there, but he was starting to grow. Real Madrid looked like they had a structure. The players looked like they were starting to buy into the philosophy. The FIFA Club World Cup was the growing pains. And then the start of the season where Real Madrid pretty much won all their games, bar that game against Atletico Madrid. Everything looked pretty good. And I talked about it months ago at the time that this is a very dark period for Real Madrid, because that sacking of Alonso for me made no sense whatsoever. It made no sense whatsoever, because by you sacking Xabi Alonso, and all the blame has to go to Florentino Perez here. By you sacking Alonso, you pretty much handed all the power to that team, all the power to those players. Vinicius Jr., pretty much the striking image that defined Xabi Alonso's time at the club was Vinicius Jr. walking down the tunnel after being substituted in an El Clasico in which Real Madrid were winning at the time of his substitution. Pair that with Kylian Mbappe telling the entire squad after losing to Barcelona in the Super Cup, we're not doing a guard of honor, when Xabi Alonso ordered them to do so. The writing was on the wall. But I think ever since he's left Real Madrid, if anything, his stock has grown. Because now you're looking at the situation there, which we'll come on to, and the manager that they believe will be able to fix the problems that's taking place there. That is an absolute circus going on in the capital of Spain. A circus. And I really struggle to see how any manager, we'll talk about whether that manager coming in will be able to do so, but I struggle to see how any manager can really grab that team and get them to play the way they're supposed to play. And Xabi Alonso failed at that. But I don't think that failure should define Xabi Alonso as a manager. I don't. Because I think he showed you at Leverkusen that this is a very flexible manager. This is a manager who's worked or played under the likes of Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, Rafa Benitez, Jose Mourinho. This is a very, very well-esteemed player, both as a manager and as a player. So coming into Chelsea, perhaps he might be able to shake this squad up. Perhaps he might be able to get something out of this team. A team who, I said it in January. When Chelsea sacked Maresca and hired Liam Senior, the season was over. The season was over. And I had some of my Chelsea friends telling me, I'm not serious. I don't believe the vision. Look, Chelsea nowadays, I don't need to talk too much. I just wait, and inevitably everything comes crumbling. They thought they had a false dawn with Pochettino. It failed. They thought I had a false dawn with Maresca. It failed. They thought maybe Liam Senior would do something. After 2 games, they realized, this guy's not cut for this job. Now you have Xabi Alonso. In my opinion, not in my opinion, definitely a better manager than all those managers they've had in this Blue Coat, ClearLake era, probably barring Thomas Tuchel at the very start. Maybe he might be able to get something out of this team. But one thing I will continue to say with Chelsea and with any manager they hire, what is the game plan recruitment-wise? As I said, this manager that I'm seeing in the announcement feels definitive. It sounds like Xabi Alonso will be able to come in and make decisions on his own. We saw how they handled Enzo Maresca asking for players. We saw how they handled Enzo Maresca demanding for the increase of standards at the football club. He was sent packing. So, with Xabi Alonso coming in, will he be allowed to have a say in the recruitment? Will he be able to have a say in who comes in and who goes out? Because this Chelsea squad, I've said it many times to you guys, this squad is bang average. Because if you go into that next season with these group of players and you continue this kamikaze, useless, stupid, brain-dead recruitment strategy, Chelsea are not going to move anywhere. You can hire Pep Guardiola. nothing is going to change. You need to allow Xabi Alonso to do his things. But the question is, with what money is he going to be able to sign those players? Because now Chelsea are not going to make European football. Most likely not. I think they're like 9th or 10th at the time of this recording with that final game to go. I'm not too sure. They won against Tottenham. I'll have to check the table. So they could still be with a running for qualifying for Europe in the final few games or in the final game of the season. But if they don't make European football, and I think a lot of Chelsea fans probably don't even want European football. Rather we go European football-less than play Europa League or Conference League. Less games, allow Xabi Alonso to focus on the squad, focus on recovery, focus on tactics. If you don't get European football, what money are you going to be able to sign these players with? And if you're going into next season with this squad of players, I'm sorry. Chelsea are not springing any trees. They're not springing any trees, but I'll be very intrigued to see how Xabi Alonso does with these group of players, how he can fit them into whatever style of play he wants to use, whether it's a 5 at the back, 3 at the back, 4 at the back. He's shown that he's flexible with the players that he has. So I'm intrigued for the manager, not intrigued for the football club. I hope this crashes and burns. As I've said many times before on this channel, I don't like Chelsea. I don't like football clubs that spend money recklessly and then get rewarded at the end of the day just because they threw enough money at the situation. I support Barcelona. We don't have money. So I look at money as precious. And Chelsea, they treat money like it's just your everyday thing. And lastly, we move on to the football club that Xabi Alonso was sacked from, left behind, for the better in his case, Real Madrid. Now, Real Madrid have announced that they are going to hire, what is it now? 2020, 13 years later, 12, 13 years after they sacked him, they're going to bring back Jose Mourinho. This appointment for me makes sense in some ways, but then at the other time, I'm like, Real Madrid, I don't think Real Madrid really understand what's going on at this football club, right? I understand the whole notion that Real Madrid don't need tactics. They don't need tactics. The players can figure things out on their own. They have those quality of players that can kind of, manage the game on the field by themselves. But do people not understand that Real Madrid don't have Toni Kroos anymore? Real Madrid don't have Luka Modric. Real Madrid don't have Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale, Casemiro. They don't have these players who can manage football games on their own on the field. They don't have those players who only need slight leadership, tentative leadership. They don't have those players anymore. They do not. They did not replace Modric. They did not replace Toni Kroos. They don't have a controller in the midfield. They tried the Arda Güler gimmick for a few weeks. Fries. Don't even get me started. And you talk about the quality on the players. Don't even get me started on the attitude of the players. And that's another side of the thing with Jose Mourinho coming in. This man is an ego. He's charismatic. He's going to make noise. He's going to talk to the media. How is that going to pair with these group of players? You'd believe, well, these group of players, they wouldn't dare get on Mourinho's bad side. These group of players didn't even care about Carlo Ancelotti. So what makes you think they're going to care about Jose Mourinho? Really and truly, what makes you think they're going to care about Jose Mourinho? This is shaping up to be an absolute drama. And I'm all for it. Amen. I'm going to sit back in sunny Catalonia with a paloma in my hand, drinking as I'm watching in the Camp Nou, as Lamine Yamal is putting a smile on my face while whatever takes place in Madrid goes on. How is this the manager they believe is going to take them to the next phase? There is big pressure on Jose Mourinho. And he's come out, he's already mentioned he has players that he wants to sign, players that he thinks will be able to revolutionize his team, controllers he's saying, striker he's saying, defenders he's saying. This squad needs a revamp. The amount of players in this squad who are struggling with injuries have come back from big injuries. You can't sell them. The likes of Rudiger, the likes of Alaba, the likes of Mendy, the likes of Fran Garcia, Ceballos, Rodrigo, Militao. So many of them that you look at them and what do they add to the squad? You can't even get rid of them this summer because they're on the treatment table or they're just coming back from a big injury. Which team is going to take a chance on them? And then which players do you go out and buy? Camavinga this season has fallen off a cliff. Tchouaméni, I think, has had a really good season, but you look at the whole debacle with him and Valverde, it's really hard for me to see a world where they continue to play each other or play with each other. Valverde, whenever he comes back from his UFC injury, who knows how he fits into this side? Not even tactically, but more in terms of team morale. Because there's rumors, of course, these rumors might be true or not. There's rumors talking about there's friction between him and the rest of the team in terms of him being a captain and being a leader. You have Danny Carvajal leaving the football club, and he's leaving the club in the worst way possible. Refusing to play games. Refusing to come on when the manager tells him to because he feels like he's been disrespected because of Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's another player you need to try and find a way to integrate into the side. Dean Huijsen had a poor start but improved throughout the season and then kept on getting injuries here and there. And the number of injuries Real Madrid continue to get, you really wonder, is there something deeper? So Jose Mourinho has a lot on his plate. And this is a manager who, in my opinion, is completely tactically obsolete. I've seen Jose Mourinho since he left, Manchester United, at which I felt he wasn't that good to even begin with. You have a manager who's gone to Roma. Of course, he won, was it the Conference League or the Europa League? I think he won the Conference League, lost the Europa League final. He went to Spurs where he was just, Of course, he'll continue harping on about that game and that final that he wasn't allowed to coach, that he was sacked the day before, the weekend before. Fair enough. Didn't really do much at Spurs. I think that was the Spurs team that was kind of really fighting for their lives at that time. He was fighting a sinking. He was really fighting a losing battle. And then you go to Fenerbahce, you go to Benfica. I mean, look at the teams I'm naming, guys. Fenerbahce, Benfica, Roma, and Spurs. All due respect to every single one of these clubs. I mean, I'm pretty sure 3 of these clubs have won European titles. Real Madrid don't hire these sort of managers. Jose Mourinho has not been at the peak of his level since probably 2015, 2014. That is almost 12 years ago. And that is who Real Madrid are hiring. Again, I reiterate, I understand. I understand the notion that Real Madrid don't need this tactical magnifico who will come in and give the players 5 hours of video to watch. Xabi Alonso tried that and they were not vibing with it. But it's Jose Mourinho, the man that's going to be able to do that. Then you come on to Vinicius and Mbappe, who I haven't even spoken about. For me, I think one of them has to leave the football club for you to move forward. And I unfortunately believe it's going to have to be Vinicius Jr. But Kylian Mbappe, look, man, there's a lot of pressure on him this summer. He has to perform at the World Cup. He has to pray that PSG don't win back-to-back Champions Leagues after he left the football club. Because it's not coincidence now. It's not a coincidence now. But I'll be very intrigued to see whether Jose Mourinho can do it. Can he make these group of players work together? Maybe not even the group of players. Can he make those two, Vinicius and Mbappe, work together? Because they're inevitably, undoubtedly fantastic players. World-class even. But guys, those brothers cannot play with each other. Or at least they haven't shown that they can play with each other. And I don't think Jose Mourinho is the tactical, brilliant manager at this point in his career that's going to be able to get that out of them. Maybe now he has to tap into the charismatic side of his game and speak to Kylian Mbappe, the person. Speak to Vinicius Jr., the person. Who knows? As I said, I'll be sitting back, watching, eating my popcorn, because this should be good. Wasn't Jose Mourinho literally advocating for Prestiani, an alleged racist, against Vinicius Jr. like 4 or 5 months ago? How is that gonna work? So is Jose Mourinho just gonna come into the dressing room and talk to Vini and say, mi hombre, hermano, understand, you know? Is that what he's gonna say? He's just gonna talk to Vini, come on, understand. Come on. That whole debacle where Jose Mourinho, a manager who's really prided himself in the diversity of the players that he's taken to war with. Whether it's the John Obi Mikkels, the Drogbas, the Eto'os, the list goes on and on, the Anelkas. We could sit here all day, the Makalelis. Players who will tell you that they will die on the field for Mourinho, of African black descent. And then for him to come out and advocate for Prestiani in that situation, in a situation where Vinicius was very clearly the victim. Hey man, if there isn't enough drama at Real Madrid, Jose Mourinho is going to bring a lot more. But he has to. I said at the start of this, I don't think Jose Mourinho is under a lot of pressure because it's kind of at the end of his career. Jose Mourinho has to win something next year. Real Madrid cannot go 3 years back to back to back trophyless. Genuinely, if that happens, Bro, I can't even say it on YouTube, but boss calls will be made. And I'm not talking about the players. I'm not talking about the manager. I'm talking about the president. Boss calls will be made. But as always, let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section. Who do you think is under the biggest pressure out of these three managers? Do you see Arne Slot continuing in his role at Liverpool despite all the carnage that has taken place at Anfield this season? What do you think about Xabi Alonso's appointment at Chelsea? Do you see it being a success, or do you see it just being another poor decision and another fallen man under the guidance of ClearLake and Blueco? And lastly, Jose Mourinho's return to Real Madrid. Do you see it going well? Do you see it being another episode in the beautiful drama that is taking place at the Bernabeu? Let me know all that and a whole lot more down in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. As always, thank you guys for watching. Take care of yourselves.